The 13th Amendment of 1865 abolished slavery. It was supported by 100% of the Republicans and 23% of the Democrats. The 14th Amendment of 1866 declared that anyone born or naturalized in the United States was a citizen entitled to the privileges and immunities that such citizenship afforded, supported by 94% of the Republicans and 0% of the Democrats. The 15th Amendment of 1869, the right of a citizen of the United States to vote shall not be denied or abridged by the United States or by any other state on account of race, color, or previous condition of servitude, supported by 95% of Republicans and 0% of Democrats. Many Republicans were conflicted about voting for the 15th Amendment because it didn't include a person's sex as an option. Lucy Stone and Henry Blackwell both were in favor of the 15th Amendment. They saw it as a first step that would lead to women gaining the right to vote. Olympia Brown felt betrayed that a Republican Party had given the right to vote to African American men and not women as well. Women suffragist Elizabeth Cady Stanton's husband, Henry Brewster Stanton, was a co-founder of the Republican Party, and she was originally opposed to the amendment for the same reason. But after its passage, she argued that it gave women the right to vote because the 14th Amendment stated that a citizen was defined as all persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof, and the 15th Amendment provided all citizens with the right to vote. Susan B. Anthony was arrested in November of 1872 for voting for Ulysses S. Grant, saying positively voted the Republican ticket straight. Elizabeth Cady Stanton also attempted to vote in 1880. After the Confederacy ended, they, the Democrats, took over power in the Southern legislatures and used intimidation tactics to suppress black voters. General Nathaniel Bedford Forrest, who was a Confederate or Democrat, was the KKK's first Grand Wizard. The organization was formed to terrorize free blacks and Southerners from voting Republican. The party was behind the Jim Crow laws and segregation. The 19th Amendment of 1919 granted women the right to vote, supported by 90% of Republicans and 60% of Democrats. In 1936, 71% of blacks who had previously voted Republican voted for FDR and his New Deal. The Civil Rights Act of 1957 was the first civil rights legislation since Reconstruction. The new act established the Civil Rights Section of the Justice Department and empowered federal prosecutors to obtain court injunctions against interference with the right to vote, supported by 91% of Republicans and 52% of the Democrats. Some Democrats tried to filibuster its passage. The Civil Rights Act of 1964 prohibited discrimination on the basis of race, color, religion, sex, or national origin, supported by 80% of Republicans and 61% of Democrats. It is claimed that Nixon created the Southern strategy to win the South by appealing to its racist leanings, but the Southern racist vote in 1968 did not go to Nixon. It went to George Wallace, a Democratic segregationist who ran as an independent. Nixon supported the Civil Rights Act of 1964 and the Voting Rights Act of 1965. He supported desegregation of public schools, and after taking office in 1969, President Nixon initiated the Philadelphia Plan, which was the country's first affirmative action system. It instituted racial goals and timetables on the building trade unions in Philadelphia. The plan was later implemented in other areas. It's also claimed that following the Southern strategy, there was a big switch where the political parties flipped and the racists joined the Republicans. But at the time, only one Dixiecrat congressman, Albert Watson of South Carolina, switched to the GOP. The other 200 Dixiecrats, senators, congressmen, governors, and elected officials all stayed in the Democratic Party, including Al Gore Sr., J. William Fulbright, and Robert Byrd. The South didn't start voting Republican until 1980s and 90s, as American culture started to change. The Republican suffragist movements were based on conservative religious ideals, that all men and women are created by God and therefore deserve equality, the same religious values that conservatives base their views on today. The liberal Democrats believed that various nationalities and cultures were at various stages of evolution and therefore slavery was acceptable. They rationalized it, thinking that those enslaved were less than human, which is the same way they rationalize abortion today, claiming the unborn are not fully human, a rejection of God and the divine origin of man. If you'd like to comment, please comment below, hit the like button, and subscribe. Thanks, I really appreciate it.